Members of Congress are saying, listen, Kevin McCarthy, the GOP leader in the House, and Nancy Pelosi received this briefing back in December. Kevin McCarthy said, no way would you put Eric Swalwell back on the Homeland Security Committee after receiving the same briefing that Nancy Pelosi did. They received it together. But now the ranking members of the Committee on the Judiciary and the House Committee on Homeland Security, which Swalwell is on, so the Republican members are saying, along with their colleagues, we need this briefing.
Most of the infiltration that we know from Christine Fang, and her organization happened in the San Francisco area, happened in the California area. Jordan, that is exactly where Speaker Pelosi and Adam Schiff operate. And so, look, my question is, are they involved? Do they have vulnerability to this? And maybe is that why Eric Swalwell was not removed from these two committees?
There's no way the FBI gets around this. They already briefed the GOP leaders and Speaker of the House. These are all people with security clearances. They're going to have to brief them too. But it also is going to shed more light on Swalwell and the Democrats' decision to continue to place him in a position where he has access to the nation's most classified information.
It is very, very rich to look at Mr. Swalwell and his activity. He's accused the President Trump, of incitement. He's accused then President Trump of being a Russian asset, when the evidence, I think, clearly gives rise to the following inference, that Swalwell may indeed have been a Chinese agent himself. And so I wonder if this attention on President Trump is designed to deflect attention away from the Democrats' own problems.
We know the infiltration of this network in the San Francisco Bay Area is very deep. We need to take a closer look at that. This is not just Eric Swalwell who's compromised. We know he's compromised, but Jay, if that's the end of the story, I would be shocked.
What's happened is the influence has gotten so great and so deep on so many different levels, economic, political, cultural, as they call it, that undoing this is going to be difficult as well. The previous administration with President Trump took a very aggressive and tough stance with the Chinese.
The theft of intellectual property, the surveillance, the infiltration of lawmakers, and then, Jordan brought up the extermination of the Uyghurs, the human rights abuses. Jay, normally, if you would take another country in the world and you would put together that package of abuses, you would have bipartisan condemnation and sanctions coming down the pike galore.
Reports coming out that Robert Malley and Secretary Kerry were in conversations with Iranian officials while you were serving as Secretary of State.
It's deeply un-American to undermine President Trump and the efforts that we were doing on behalf of the American people that elected him. They were either trying to keep their deal alive or trying to convince the Iranians not to negotiate with us. I don't know precisely, but it's completely inappropriate. And now it looks like they're headed down a path of appeasement with the Iranians as well. That's probably even worse.
They acknowledge that the Iranians are not in compliance, but it's not as if this agreement with the Iranians went away. It was just the U.S., your administration, correctly pulled out of it. So they were not in compliance while the Europeans were engaged in it.
They're going to give away all of the leverage we've created, everything that would cause the Iranians to potentially consider working to diminish their missile program or constraining their militias and their terror against Israel and the United States. None of that's going to happen if they accede to the Iranians' demands. I saw, Jay, just one more point. I saw that they now think they're going to try and ask the administration for something near $1 trillion in, quote, reparations, end of quote. That's crazy. The pressure campaign that we put in place was the right course of action. I hope that they'll come to see that that's the only way to get the Iranians to negotiate is through strength and not weakness.
We are on top of this Iran situation. We've already got a Freedom of Information Act letter out. We're going to get to the bottom. I'm sure there'll be litigation.